Pichushkin met a 40-year-old homeless man called Slava.
Здесь было, как бросил, он что-то начал щелкать откроешь, вот так вот. Он его приподнял, вот так вот, за ремень, по-моему, за что-то, штаны, вот так вот. И вот так вот положил наполовину его. Затем поддел ноги, и он полетел. Понятно. Ну и потом я услышал только крик там внизу, на старушечек какой похож, когда он уже, видимо, упал.
At the time, people thought it was a suicide. Nobody saw anything criminal about it at all.
He knew perfectly well what was going on. He knew what he was doing.
As the investigators delve further, they build up a precise picture of the man who claims to have killed over 60 people. Pichushkin was born in Moscow on April the 9th, 1974. His background seemed ordinary. He lived with his mother and sister in this apartment on Hersonskaya Street. It's a typical Soviet-era flat, not far from Bitsa Park. He had a steady job in a supermarket and was generally well-liked. His was an ordinary, everyday life. Yet Alexander strove to be different. A team of doctors at Russia's leading psychiatric institute spent over 6 months analyzing Pichushkin's background and psychiatric history. And one of them is Dr. Evgeny Pichushskin.
He wasn't happy in his private life. He just did his job and led a lonely life. As far as we know, he tried to live with women on several different occasions and even tried to start a family, but he failed. The pattern of behavior that we were witnessing was very complicated. But there was a certain pattern, a striving to murder and to aggressive sadistic activity. So why was he doing all this? To get a kick out of it, to get satisfaction and a sexual release. Certainly, this is a display of aggressively sadistic syndrome, aggression and cruelty, a discharge of his aggressive intentions.
His one gift was a knack for getting on with people and putting them at their ease.
He could make an acquaintance easily and found it easy to keep contact with them without ever giving his victims a chance to relax and feel the danger. And when the right moment came, he just smashed their heads in.
During the 40 hours of filmed confession in the forest, Pichushkin continues to horrify investigators with the scale of his killings.
Pichushkin led us to the site of a murder we didn't even know about, and there we found the remains of a man who had never been discovered.
Кости. О, видите, вот челюсть осталась.
Челюсть.
Вот еще кости.
Ага.
The jawbone belongs to a 36-year-old worker from St. Petersburg, Oleg Lorinenko.
It was a rather remote place in the forest, and unfortunately, there was little left of that man. Weather and animals had spoiled the body, and there was practically nothing left.
Lorinenko is Pichushkin's 15th victim found in the forest. But the chessboard killer claims to have murdered more than 60 people. So where are the other 45 bodies? Trawling their records, investigators are drawn to an unsolved crime in Bitsa Park 4 years earlier. In February 2002, local police received a call from a hospital about a patient with curious injuries.
Да, это горбольница номер 6. К нам поступила пациентка с черепно-мозговой травмой. Она говорит, что на нее напали.
Maria Viricheva had a worrying story about a man she'd recently met, a man called Alexander Pichushkin.
Старший лейтенант, что случилось? Я познакомилась с ним у метро.
On February the 23rd, 2002, Maria had met Alexander Pichushkin near Kakhovskaya metro station. She just split up from her boyfriend and was desperate to make ends meet.
Я сидела, плакала. Он подошел, спросил, в чем дело. Выпить предложил.
Pichushkin offered to sell her some cameras. He told her he'd hidden them in Bitsa Park. Maria Yuryevich was pregnant at the time.
Завел меня туда подальше. Подвел к колодцу. Говорит, что там спрятана коробка. Подошли, велел заглянуть в колодец.
Carried along by the quick-flowing water, Yuryevich managed to cling to life by climbing into a disused sewer. After being trapped for more than 20 hours, she eventually found the strength to climb from the sewer.
Я стала пытаться выход найти, ничего не видно. Я все время думала, что ребенка потеряю из-за какого-то подонка.
At the time, despite Yuryevic's detailed statement, local police decided not to pursue the investigation.
I mean, she knew who tried to kill her and knew where to find him. But the local policeman asked her not to push it, just because he didn't want to deal with what he thought was a rubbish case. He thought it wasn't important. I didn't want to do extra work.
There was a real missed opportunity. There was a chance to catch him much, much earlier and to save about over 20 lives, I think.
The sewers proved the key to uncovering how Pichushkin disposed of the rest of his victims.
Александр, что это за колодец? Ну вот в этом колодце я утопил. Сколько всего человек? Ну сейчас сколько по подсчетам получается человек 16, по-моему. Можно более точно.
This is just one of the sewers Pichushkin used. There is a network of drainage systems beneath Bitsa Park, serving all of southern Moscow.
In terms of physical damage, you know, when he was throwing them down into the sewers, those people, if I can say so, they were rather lucky because their deaths were pretty instant. There are such massive water flows there and such huge water pressure that when we put a mannequin inside the sewer to see what it's like there, it was simply torn apart.
Pichushkin disposed of many of his victims in this way, including his very first victim, Mikhail Odinchuk, an 18-year-old classmate whom Pichushkin murdered in 1992. Odinchuk had refused to partner Pichushkin on a killing spree. Then, in February 2002, Pichushkin dumped the body of a homeless boy known only as Mitka, who was just 9 years old. Pichushkin claims to have dumped the bodies of some 43 people in the sewers beneath Bitsa Park.
He even blamed us for not being able to find all the bodies. Seriously, he blamed us for not working hard enough. We even had to say that if he hadn't thrown the bodies into the sewers, if he was to leave them on the ground, we would have found them all.
But one question remains. Just why does Pichushkin change from disposing of his victims in the sewers, where they just disappear, to leaving them in the open, where they're almost guaranteed to be found?
Мое впечатление, которое сложилось у меня от общения с ним,
I got the impression that he couldn't keep it to himself, that he needed everyone to know. He wanted to get full credit, as he saw it, for what he was doing.
им восхитились.
I think deep in his heart he wanted to be caught. He wanted the attention and he wanted the fame, and he just couldn't keep silent anymore.
Alexander Pichushskin is about to get his moment in the spotlight. Moscow prosecutors have built up a solid case against him, with enough evidence to charge him with 49 individual counts of murder. Under the gaze of the world's media, the chessboard killer has one last game to play. On September the 13th, 2007, Russia's most prolific serial killer, Alexander Pichushskin, goes on trial in Moscow, charged with the murder of 49 people. It's the culmination of a killing spree that has lasted for over 15 years and has kept an entire city in fear.
I attended the court hearings. It was a real performance for him. He wanted the attention, and there was